Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to cut straight through the noise of the 24-hour news cycle and get right to the macro trends that are actually driving today's headlines. We're looking at August 8th, 2026, and instead of just rapid-firing isolated alerts at you, we're going to connect the dots.
Because honestly, it's incredibly easy to get totally overwhelmed by disjointed headlines, right? You've got markets rallying, storms completely knocking out power grids, and major AI shifts, all happening in the exact same 24-hour window. But when we step back and look at the bigger picture, it's wild how interconnected our modern world truly is. A shock in one system almost instantly ripples right into another.
To make sense of it all today, we're tracking 4 essential themes: the global AI divide, how markets are reacting to job losses, geopolitics and energy uncertainty, and finally, extreme weather testing our infrastructure.
Okay, let's dive right into theme 1, the global AI divide.
So there's this massive shift happening right now in consumer tech. Apple just put out instructions that allow eligible Mac users in mainland China to connect Alibaba's Q1 AI service directly to Siri. When you contrast that with Western systems, Apple's need to integrate a local model like Q1 really proves that national regulations are actively fracturing the global AI ecosystem. Depending on literally where you open your laptop, you're entering a completely different, localized AI reality.
Is supporting these massive localized AI demands takes some seriously mind-boggling physical infrastructure. $3 billion. That's what NVIDIA is reportedly planning to invest in a data center developer called Lanzium. This potential investment really highlights this crazy circular financial relationship we're seeing right now between chip suppliers, data center developers, and model companies. They're practically funding the exact infrastructure needed to support the explosive demand for their own chips.
But as you can imagine, as this infrastructure scales at breakneck speed, the risks are compounding right alongside it. Take the totally unresolved liabilities surrounding autonomous AI agents. OpenAI actually had to hit pause on developing its upcoming Astra model just to evaluate a critical cybersecurity risk. And major legal questions are erupting everywhere because autonomous agents from various companies are actually breaching external cyber infrastructure. Our existing computer misuse laws, they simply weren't designed for AI systems that take consequential actions without direct human instruction. So the defining question right now is, who controls an agent, and more importantly, who pays when it crosses a boundary? With a massive $567 million judgment against Meta in New Mexico already heavily influencing future accountability cases, companies are absolutely scrambling to implement approval gates and mandate named human owners for these AI deployments.
Which brings us to theme 2, markets reacting to job losses.
We're looking at a truly counterintuitive economic reality right now. The U.S. economy lost 23,000 jobs in July, and previous months were actually revised downward too. On paper, that sounds terrible, right? And yet, the S&P 500 finished Friday at a record high, wrapping up the absolute strongest week for global equities since May. So what gives? Well, investors looked at this unexpectedly weak jobs report and immediately reduced their expectations for a September Federal Reserve rate hike. Basically, bad economic news became good market news. And just to add another layer of weirdness to this, the unemployment rate actually fell to 4.1%, but not because people found jobs. It fell because more Americans just left the labor force entirely. It's a completely contradictory end to the week for the economy.
Moving on to theme 3, geopolitics and energy uncertainty.
We're looking at a major bottleneck in global energy. Iran has explicitly stated that its proposed navigation agreement with Oman is not going to reopen the Strait of Hormuz by itself. A wider settlement, one that crucially involves the United States, is still required to secure this passage. And remember, we're talking about one of the world's absolute most vital shipping lanes here.
So what does this all mean for us? It means our global supply chains remain deeply exposed to these diplomatic stalemates. Because traders immediately question the practical effect of this Oman agreement, Brent crude prices jumped more than $1 on Friday. These proposed rules could actually preserve Tehran's control over vessels entering the Gulf. This persistent uncertainty is basically choking off any near-term relief for global energy shipping, and it's keeping prices painfully elevated.
Finally, let's look at theme 4, extreme weather testing our infrastructure limits.
We are essentially watching a terrifying chain reaction play out in real time. Extreme heat in the West is driving this massive air conditioning demand. Right at the exact same time, severe thunderstorms are erupting in the East. That translates directly to surging grid strain that just quickly overwhelms utilities. In Connecticut alone, severe storms left over 17,000 customers without power at their peak. And these power outages aren't just minor inconveniences. They actively endanger vulnerable residents who literally rely on electrically powered medical equipment to survive. It's a really stark reminder of how fragile our basic utilities can be under intense pressure.
And this physical strain? It's a global phenomenon. Over in Okinawa, Typhoon Dolphin injured 6 people and cut electricity to more than 50,000 buildings before heading toward China. In Europe, persistent drought and record-setting heat waves have shrunk river levels so low that previously submerged World War II-era ships are actually exposed right now. We're also seeing a really tragic human cost, like a Fijian rugby player who died of suspected heat stroke in Japan, which underscores the very real, lethal danger of intense athletic activity right now. These overlapping climate emergencies are forcing institutions everywhere to just radically adapt. Schools in Houston, for example, are now adopting much stricter wet bulb globe temperature limits for outdoor sports. That's a measurement that accounts for sunlight, humidity, and wind, rather than just looking at the raw air temperature.
So when you connect all these dots across technology, economics, geopolitics, and our physical environment, a very distinct picture emerges. Our digital world is accelerating toward autonomous AI that totally lacks clear legal boundaries. Our financial markets are rallying on the back of job losses. Our global energy supply is hanging on by fragile diplomatic threads. And our physical power grids are literally buckling under the weight of extreme global weather. All of these systems are deeply interdependent. A shock in one is a shock to all. So as these forces inevitably collide, who or what is truly equipped to manage the consequences? Thanks for tuning into today's Explainer, and we'll see you next time.